Hello to everyone out there. I'm the Junkman toy collector. Started buying toys in the 70s as a kid. Started collecting toys in the 90s. Started making YouTube videos about toy collecting about 5 years ago. And today we're going to look at scenes for television and movies of toy collectors and give you my thoughts on it. Toy Story 2, a classic, and the first time I remember seeing a toy collector represented in a movie or a television show. Sadly, they made him a villain, but to me, he wasn't all that of a bad guy. He was just buying something that was rare at a dirt cheap price at a yard sale, looking to either add it to his collection or sell it all so he could use that money to buy more for his collection. He was a collector and a dealer. I don't see anything wrong with that, but let's check out a scene.
There's a snake in my boots.
Original hand-painted face, natural dyed blanket stitched vest. Little rip, fixable. Oh, if only you had your hand-stitched polyvinyl hat.
Here's a scene that a lot of toy collectors can relate to. That's going to yard sales, hoping to find something rare at a yard sale that's for like $1. It rarely ever happens. Now, in the 90s, I used to hit a lot of yard sales almost every weekend. Nothing. In the early 2000s, nothing. Except one time I did find a blue snaggletooth. Every once in a while you would find something, but find something rare like he does here, it's very rarely happened. Like I said, it happened to me once out of over 10 years of going to yard sales. But we all as toy collectors, dream of this happening, so it was nice to see at least this guy got something. Oh, the toy cleaner. I love this scene in the movie. I really love this scene because I think back then in the 90s when the toy market was really taking off for collectors, I think everyone knew at least one guy like this that you could take your toy to and he could clean it up, make it look new. He could fix that X-Wing and make it make sounds again. Doesn't use reproductive parts or anything, just fixes it up in good condition so the guy can resell it. Just gets this thing looking almost brand new so the guy can resell it and make as much money as he can off of it. Really like this scene. The 40-Year-Old Virgin. Now I like this movie, but I also can see some faults with it because they make the virgin a toy collector. They said, hey, let's get a 40-year-old that's still a virgin. He's got to be somebody that collects toys and into sci-fi movies and everything. It's just so cliche, a stereotype of toy collector, so not really a fan of it. But overall, it's a very funny movie. Let's take a look at a scene from it.
What about those collectibles? I bet if you sold those, you could make a lot of money. I just sold a guy's G.I. Joe for $1,000.
Really?
Do you have any of those?
Yeah.
You do?
I have 47 of them.
No, you don't.
Yeah, in the original boxes.
Now here's a classic. The toy collector gets a girlfriend or I guess a boyfriend who doesn't understand the hobby, wants him to sell it all and use that money for something else, which is fine if the guy wants to sell the collection, but he seems a little pressured into it. And I think a lot of us that dated while we were being toy collectors kind of can relate to this scene for sure. Now let's check out some of the toys he has that he's gonna sell. I see a lot of 90s and 2000 toys here. It looks like what you would find at a toy store when this movie was being made. Nothing extremely rare here yet. And it's odd that he's selling all his toy collections to open up this like a Circuit City, like a local Circuit City type store, which, you know, all of them went out of business probably a few years after this movie being made. So wasn't a very good investment. He should have held on to his toys, I guess. But let's see what else he's got. Atomic Robot Man. Now this toy was first released in the 1940s, but this doesn't look like a 1940s box. This doesn't look like the original 1940 ones. They did re-release this in 1997, but that box doesn't look like the 1997 box either, but maybe they made the box to sell for this movie. Either way, if it's the 1941, it is worth a lot of money, but I don't think it is by looking at the box and everything. I don't even think it's the 1997 one that's worth maybe about $30, $40. So I'm not really sure what this one's worth or which one it is. Arlie, the drill sergeant from Full Metal Jacket, had his own action figure line. And These are talking figures, and it's odd from it looks like he's got two of the same figure up on display, which seems odd. It seems like he would display one and maybe box up the other one to sell or trade later. Now they did release some different figures, but from what I can see from that clip, it looks like the same figure, but I could be wrong. It's kind of hard to tell what that first one was. Now it's not rare. It is kind of worth some money today compared to most 90s toys, but we're talking $50 to $70. We're not talking about, you know, nothing to sell off to buy his own company with. But I was kind of interesting that he had two of those.
Aquaman. Here. Clothes on.
Ah, the Mego Aquaman figure. Now, I noticed something about watching this clip, that he has the rarest of the two. There was two variations. One had an A on the belt buckle, one didn't. This one doesn't have it. Normally, the one with the A, the normal one sells for a few $100s. So you might be able to get a little bit more for this one, but I wouldn't say nothing much more. Let's say if he can sell the one with the A for $300, he might get $400 to $500 for this one here. Let's check out another scene.
Godspeed, Colonel Steve Austin.
You don't want to go, do you? Okay, you can stay. Steve Austin can stay.
Steve Austin from the Kenner $6 Million Man collection. This figure's come up a lot lately in some videos I've made. This one here struck me as odd because he's wearing the blue jean jacket outfit. Now the figure didn't come with his jacket. You had to buy it separate. They sold separate clothes for your $6 Million Man figure, so you could take off the red jumpsuit. I'm surprised here they didn't put him in the red jumpsuit, the more famous. When you think $6 Million Man, you think, you know, him in his red jumpsuit, but maybe they thought the blue jean one was more funny. But the outfit's really not that rare. It's worth maybe, it's out of the package, so it's worth maybe, I don't know, $50, $70 somewhere in that ballpark range. And the figure itself, I guess he bought it with no clothes, but he's going to put these clothes on it. So he picked up the figure pretty cheap. I think overall he's probably going to get about $170, at the top's $200 for this figure, if that.
Wait, she's picking you up from here?
Yeah.
That's up, man.
Why?
Why? Seriously. I mean, look at this place, man. You gotta see this through the eyes of a woman, you know? What is she gonna think when she comes in here? Oh, look, he's got a billion toys.
Now, I think this is what most toy collectors can relate with this one, is that's the moment when you're dating a girl or a guy and you got to bring them home to your house for the first time and you're like, oh, they're going to see my toy collection. What do I do? Do I tell them, you know, kind of ease them into it? You know, a few dates first, tell them, hey, I'm a toy collector. If you get lucky, you're dating someone that also is a toy collector, that helps out a lot. And then if you do get married, you can double your collection, so that really helps. But I think all of us have had that, you know, almost a panic attack of, oh, I really like this girl, but how do I let her know I'm a toy collector? Because thanks to movies like this, you know, we get a bad rap as being 40-year-old virgins. So let's take a look.
So what?
And more video games than a teenaged Asian kid.
All right.
Again, I see a lot of 90s and 2000s stuff here. Nothing really rare, nothing that's gonna, you know, really help him out if he sells it. I did see in the very back of Godzilla, which at first I thought was a Shogun Warrior Godzilla, which is kind of like a holy grail for a lot of toy collectors. But I think that's what they want us to think. But looking at it again and freezing the image, it's not that at all. It's not that one.
But none of this is sexy, okay?
I'm not trying to be sexy, man.
I mean, there's Asia? You framed an Asia poster?
Now here's something that caught my eye. Over his shoulder he has a Steve Austin $6 Million Man figure in an orange jumpsuit in a glass case. But if you notice next to him on the bookcase, he has other figures from that same line, not in a glass case. Why is this one in a glass case? It seems like he thinks it's rarer than the others. It doesn't want anything to happen to it. He even mentions that his $6 Million Man boss figure, Oscar Goldman's, is extremely rare and everything. So why ain't it in the glass case? And this one here is just another orange jumpsuit where you have to buy the clothes separate and put it on your figure. It's not really worth anything really that special. Again, you know, you can pick up the outfit, $50, $60. You can find a Steve Austin $6 Million Man figure with no clothes, so you can put the clothes on it. Pretty cheap, $30, $40 sometime. So I don't know why this one's in a glass case, but the other one's not. And let's talk about that Oscar Goldman.
Is that the $6 Million Man's boss?
It's Oscar Goldman.
Why do you have that?
That's worth a lot of money. That's much more valuable than Steve Austin.
Steve Austin's boss, Oscar Goldman, he acts like it's the rare figure of the line. Like, oh my God, can you believe I got this one? It's really not that rare for the toy line. Now, if it was boxed, I could see maybe, hey, it's still in the box, it's worth a lot more. But we're talking loose, and it looks like right there he doesn't have all the accessories for it unless he has it put up somewhere else. And we're talking this loose figure, maybe $50 to $60. Now, it is a little rarer than finding a Steve Austin. He could get the $6 million man and sell Steve Austin for about $30, $40 if it's missing the accessories and everything, but still in okay condition. So it is worth a lot more, but not a lot more like he's acting like.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, how you doing today?
So what do we got?
Well, we have the original box and everything else with the Empire Strikes Back candy dispenser.
Pawn Stars here. Let's see if we got a good deal here. Now, this is a box of candy that was released in 1980. They were kind of trying to compete with Pez. It was kind of like little characters' heads. And this was Series 2. It was, I believe, 2-1B, Bosk, Yoda, and I think there's one more to slip in my mind right now. Now, if you find this wrapped up, it still has the wrapper on the display box and everything, you can look at about $700 to $900. But this one has been opened. It doesn't have the wrapper on it, although it still does have all the heads, and I'm assuming it still has all the candy and everything in it. Believe it or not, these come up on eBay a little bit more than you would think. You think 1980, a candy display box, how many of them were saved? But it comes up time to time. I think there's about 3 of them on eBay right now. I think he probably can get about $300 for it in that condition right there.
Yeah, it's just gonna be a little bit too much for me.
Okay.
I'll tell you what, I'll go 140.
I guess I think I could do 140 today.
Cool, why don't you meet me over there? We gotta do some paperwork.
Well, hello everyone. I'm Donald Swan, high school history teacher and comic book lover.
The great Mark Hamill. We all know him playing Luke Skywalker, but if you haven't seen this movie, comic book, the movie, check it out. It's like his love letter to comic book collectors and everything. It's a really fun movie, and Mark Hamill does an excellent job playing this character as a comic book fan. I really do love it.
There's nothing I love better than to turn off the phones, close the door, get a nice cool glass of tangerine Kool-Aid, and get out my comic books.
Not much to say about this clip here. I was looking at some of the toys behind him. Mostly looks like more 50s, 60s era, which is a different breed of toy collector. You have some toy collectors that are more, in the 50s type of toys. And then you have more of my generation that was 70s and 80s. So it's a little different type of person, type of collector right there. The thing I did see interesting is that he had a Joker from the Batman animated show up there on his shelf. Which I guess is kind of like an Easter egg nod to Mark Hamill as he did the voice for the Joker. So nice little touch right there.
They finally got it right with Spider-Man, but that's the exception.
Yeah, but still, the
not
digital
rule.
stuff looks so fake, though.
Do you think so? It looks like a video game?
Every once in a while, it's got that.
Yeah.
Oh, your helmet is so big.
Lord Helmet, what? You need it on the bridge, sir.
Knock on my door! Knock next time!
Yes, sir.
Did you see anything?
No, sir. I didn't see you playing with your dolls again.
Good!
You got to lock your door when you play with your toys. I think we've all learned that the hard way. But a funny scene from Spaceballs, and actually those figures from the movie, the actual props from the movie, are in a collection by Gus Lopez, a big famous Star Wars collector. This guy has a lot of stuff, and he has at least 3 of them that he actually got on one of those movie prop auction sites. The other ones from the set are kind of missing. We don't know what happened to them, but luckily he got these 3, so they're in good hands today.
You're kidding. I don't even believe you have something like this.
I've never seen one in person.
Okay.
Holy sh**.
This is something that definitely wasn't made, and I can tell you it wasn't made, and you shouldn't have it, but I'm glad you do.
I know what it is, but I have no idea how much it's worth.
Do you have the missile?
Yes, I believe it's in
It should come with
there.
a missile. Wow. What you have is an unproduced action figure of arguably one of the most popular characters in Star Wars.
Toy Hunter show. Walked into, I guess this is a comic book store, and found a rocket firing Boba Fett. He didn't know was going to be there, and the guy selling it didn't know what it was. He's like, I don't know what it is. I got it with some baseball cards. For this scene here, I'm going to have to call bullshit on this scene right here. First thing I noticed is that when he takes the figure out of the bag, the rocket falls out of it. Yeah, the rocket falls out of it, but then moments later, he's like, hey, do you have the rocket? And it's all wrapped up really tight. That's my first warning sign that something isn't right about this scene here. I'll show you what I'm talking about.
Okay. This is something. Do you have the missile?
Yes, I believe it's in
It should come with
there.
a missile. Wow. What you have.
Now he has a expert come in who he says worked for Kenner. He says his name is Ed, and I believe his name is Ed Schiffman, who was a toy designer for Kenner back during the original days. He actually was one of the guys that came up with the early bird plan, you know, to release an empty box with a letter saying, hey, you'll get Star Wars as soon as we can get them to the stores.
Even though I want this to be real and it all sounds good, I gotta call an expert just to make sure. So I've invited my friend Ed to come down and verify that it's real. Thank you so much, man.
Good to see you.
Ed worked at Kenner for 20 years, and he was an engineer on the Star Wars line.
Now, if this is the Ed I'm thinking of, he actually owns a rocket-firing Boba Fett, or did around this time. He got it from his days of being a toy designer, held on to it. And although I can't prove it, I've got a funny feeling that this is a staged scene, and that is his rocket-firing Boba Fett. Or it might be a reproduction one. It's kind of, the toy hunter is an expert, so it's kind of odd seeing someone that's a toy expert holding it with bare hands. I know it might be nitpicking, but let's go back to the Pawn Star show and see they even touch it with gloves, that candy display.
Do you mind if I take a look at them?
I don't mind at all.
Box looks nice, and you notice that the perforation right here is unpunched.
So to find something extremely rare, like the rocket-firing Boba Fett, you find it at a comic book store, the guy doesn't know what it's worth, seems very unlikely, because whoever he got it from had to be somebody within Kenner. These things didn't get shipped out to kids, so it's very odd this thing would have came in and this guy wouldn't have known what it was. And again, as a toy collector, if this thing is as rare, almost one of a kind, holding it with his bare hands seems unlikely. Yeah, so I'm going to say this is a reproduction and they're fooling us. They do say on the show it's real, so let's take their word for it. I got a funny feeling if it is real, this is the one that belongs to Ed, the Kenner designer, who has one in his collection, or at least around this time had one in his collection. Not sure if he still does today.
Hey, you, stop.
Well, that's the scenes of toy collectors in television and movies. Do you know any more scenes? Maybe I can do a part 2 video. Well, I want to thank you for watching. As always, thumbs up on my content. Subscribe to the channel. We'll talk again soon.
Hey, Junkman channel popping though.
Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.